Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of DFS Today. This is your Sunday, January 30th edition. I am Santino. I'll be running this one solo for you. We have a total of 8 games on the docket, broken up into 2 slates. First slate starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, has two games at 1 and a 3:30 game in there. And then we have a late game slate that tips off at 6 p.m. with 1 game at 6, 2 at 7, 2 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a fun one. Should be fairly quick. We do have a lot of injury reporting, news on the injury report here, so a lot of things changing and whatnot, but try and get through it as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. Without further ado, let's kick it off. We have the first game on the docket, the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Atlanta Hawks. We have a 224.5 game total. The Hawks are 7-point home favorites. On the injury report, I'm just going to read it all at once. Sequoia, LeBron, none, all out. DeAndre Hunter, Trae Young, Anthony Davis, questionable. Malik Monk, Russell Westbrook, both probable. I will start with this one. And Anthony Davis is expected to play. They upgraded him to probable after the official injury report got released, and I'm doing this in the morning of. So we should expect AD to play, Westbrook to play, and Monk to play on the Lakers side, which we'll tip off first. Russ had himself a big game without those two guys in the last one. Dropped 35 actual points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. Had a monster second half after a very poor first half. Starting to turn things around. The last that game, hopefully that's a sign of things to come. But his shooting percentage in the last 4 games, the lowest of those 4 games, 50% from the field. Not great from the 3-point line, but starting to shoot a little bit better, play a little bit better. And last game he only had 1 turnover, so that is something better there. With that said, 9,500 for him. I do think this is a very good matchup. And with only 3 games on the docket, I will take a look at him. AD had a monster game against Philly at 59.5 fantasy points. He's only 100 more. He's also in play, but I'd rather take a chance at Westbrook here. And Malik Monk, 4,500. No LeBron James. We know he didn't play in the last one, but against Philly, he still had 13 shots in that one, and against Brooklyn, he had 13 shots. So at only 4,500, if he's going to get low teens to mid-teens shot attempts, I do like that. And that game against Philly, he was only 3 of 13 from the field, 1 of 6 from the 3-point line. He's been much better than that. And he still had 26.5 points, so he still brought back value, exceeded value, and he didn't play particularly well. So I do really like Malik Monk here. I think that's a great value. And Russell Westbrook would be my 2 favorites. Stanley Johnson should see some extra run here too without LeBron James. He's been playing minutes in the high 20s. He's under 4K, just a guy you can squeeze in if you're going real stars and scrubby here. And those are the guys that I like the most there. On the other side of the ball, a lot of it's going to have to hinge on whether Trae Young plays or not. That is a massive amount of usage. The ball is usually always in his hands. So we need to know if he's going to be a go for this one, because not just shot attempts that go up, not just playmaking, but just having the ball in general. He really has the ball in his hands the majority of possessions and the majority of those time of those possessions. So if he's out, it really shakes things up big time. But if he's in 10-2, he put up 55 points against the Lakers in their lone meeting on 8 of 21 shooting. He had 25, 14, and 9, a near triple-double. No defensive stats in that one either, and 9 turnovers, and he still had 55 points. If I told you a guy shot 8 of 21 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3, had 9 turnovers, and 0 defensive stats, and he still put up just about 55 fantasy points, that is a monster day. So yes, 10-2 for Trae Young. If good to go, is in a great spot. And we know point guards have been just tormenting the Lakers for the last few years, and especially this year without Alex Caruso, who was their best perimeter defender for a few years there. Outside of that, again, gotta make sure Young and Hunter to a lesser extent are in or out. If Trey is out, Bogdanovich at 4.8, who I like regardless, just becomes a much better play. Back-to-back games of 30-plus fantasy points here in the 2 games that he came back after missing nearly 2 weeks, 12 days. But if there's no Trey Young, he's going to be the lead ball handler here. So I do really like him. And we'll get the news early, but 48 with Trey Young, I like. I think he's going to bring back value regardless in this matchup. Without Trey Young, he just becomes one of the best plays, value plays of the night. Or day, I should say, because this is the day slate. And then if there's no Trey Young, I do like John Collins as well, 6,400. That's just a very solid price tag. With Trey Young, not as much. The matchup's still pretty solid. No LeBron James. But I won't be going there. I think there's better options. But without Trey Young, he gets a bump. So does Kevin Huerter. And then depending on what happens with DeAndre Hunter, maybe Gallinari at 4.2 also gets a nice run here. Maybe DeLone Wright, who if you're really digging deep, you can look at. But for me, I'm looking at Bogdanovich. And then depending on Trey Young, Huerter, Gallinari, and a little bit of John Collins here. And then if Trey Young plays, obviously Trey Young. Capella at 6.2, I glossed over him. He didn't have himself a great game in the first matchup against these guys. Probably be a little bit better here, but I'm going to pause on that for now. All right, jumping on over to the next game at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the Los Angeles Clippers taking on the Charlotte Hornets. We have a 226 game total, and the Hornets are 5.5-point home favorites. On the injury report, Gordon Hayward, Jalen McDaniels, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, all out. Nick Batum, Kelly Oubre, both questionable for this one. Start with the Clippers. This is just a fast-paced matchup. We know anytime you're playing against the Hornets, you're in a very good spot as an offensive team. Marcus Morris might be seeing some time at center, but he hasn't played particularly well lately. The last 2 games, he's 4 of 20 shooting. I do expect a better bounce back from him, but I don't know if I want to pay that price at the moment. I do like Reggie Jackson here. He has really, the last 3 games, 16, 19, and 21 minutes. He's gotten really down on the minutes there. But I think they'll bounce back in this one at only 5,300. Now he's a very reasonable price. He was in the mid 6Ks for a while, but now only 5,300. I think we can take some chances on him, hoping that his minutes jump back up to respectable high 20s, low 30s there, like they were previously. I do prefer him slightly over Amir Coffey just for the upside, but though Amir Coffey is another guy that's in a pretty good spot, especially when we're seeing that there's a questionable tag for Nick Batum in this one. Eric Bledsoe, another guy, high 20s minutes the last 2. He was not out of the rotation, but pretty much not playing much minutes in the teens 3 games before. But now his minutes are climbing up a little bit. Batum is questionable for this one. He might be out, and that's something to keep an eye on because that just opens up minutes for pretty much everybody. Everybody's just going to be bumped down or bumped up. And the last 2 games that he played, 26 and 27 minutes against both teams in Florida, he was pretty respectable, 24 fantasy points and 37 fantasy points. So if he can continue to get that role in the mid to high 20s, 4,400 is a solid price tag for him, and I do look for him there. But Jackson, Bledsoe, Coffey to an extent are the 3 guys I'm looking at. Terrence Mann, I'm not sure why he's not been producing. He's getting some solid time here at 3,900. I think we can take a shot at him. The upside hasn't been great. Luke Kennard's kind of overtaken him now and has a bigger price tag. And Hen has been playing pretty well, but I do still want to take a chance on Terrence Mann here over him. All right, on the Charlotte side of the ball, also a solid matchup here. Miles Bridges, 8K. I think that's a very solid price tag. He did put up 51 fantasy points against the Lakers. His lone game against the Clippers this year, he had a 42 fantasy point game. He had 3 stocks, 10 combined assists and rebounds, and 21 points. Shot particularly poor from the field, 7 of 19. I think you can expect better from him, even though the Clippers defense is really good, even without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I think 8K is a reasonable price tag for a Bridges in this one. And we know that Gordon Hayward is out. Kelly Oubre is questionable. Plumlee had a monster 17 rebounds in the last one with two back-to-back games of 6 assists. At 4,900, if again Oubre is out, I think we could look at him. He played 38 minutes against the Lakers, who tend to go a little bit bigger anyway. But his minutes the last 3 have jumped back up, 32, 27, 38 minutes. He was in the low 20s for a little bit, in the teens for a couple bit. Not hitting 30 minutes, but he has in 2 of the last 3, and that's very big here. Because without Oubre and McDaniels there, less center minutes to go around. PJ Washington still plays a little bit, but they've been going smaller, because also Gordon Hayward's out. A lot of minutes in that rotation out, and that's been helping Plumlee. And if he's going to see minutes in the high 20s, low 30s again, 4,900 is a solid price tag for him that you can look at. But I do really like Bridges here as well. And depending on Oubre, might like LaMelo Ball. I do prefer trying to go up for a couple of those Laker guys or Trae Young if he plays. But if a lot of those guys are out, if like Trae Young's out and we're getting less spots here, or someone in the 3:30 game misses, might as well take a stab at LaMelo Ball in this. But I do prefer Bridges over him at $800 less, and Plumlee's on my radar on this side. Jumping on over to the last game at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, we have the Portland Trail Blazers taking on the Chicago Bulls. We have a 227.5 game total. All the games are within 3 points here in the early going, but the Bulls are 7.5 point home favorites. We have Lonzo, Caruso, DJJ, Patrick Williams, CJ Ellerby, Lillard, Little, Nance, Zeller, all out. DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr., Norman Powell, Robert Covington, all probable for this one. So pretty extensive injury list. We'll start with Portland. Nurkic has been playing really well, 8-2. I do prefer other people over him though, so I'm not going to fully go there. McCollum, Simons are still in solid spots. You can look at the opponent rank on DraftKings. You'll see 4th for McCollum, 5th for Simons, because the backcourt and the Bulls have been really good, defensively really great, but their backcourt is not playing in this one, and they've fallen off a little bit here. Without Ball, without Caruso, those are the 2 best perimeter defenders. That gives a big bump, and if you look at this and you're not paying fully attention on the 4th and 5th opponent rank, that's not necessarily accurate right now. So I do really like Simons and McCollum both in both spots here. They're going to have to put up offensive firepower. Even with Powell back, there's just a lot of people out. I think those 2, 7 and 7K for both those guys, Simons and McCollum, are very solid price tags here. And I don't mind going with either of them, depending on how much flexibility or money that you have to go with. Robert Covington, if he's playing, he's always been pretty solid, 5,500. 2 of the last 3 games, he's put up over 30 fantasy points, and 4 of the last 6, at least 29.5 fantasy points. So some solid value here to be had very cheaply. The upside is not crazy. He's not a big scorer, but without Nance, without Little, without Ellerby, I mean, there's just a lot of room for him to have to play. They don't really have a backup center. It's pretty much him right now. So he's going to have to be playing a lot, and at 5,500, a guy who could see 35, 36 minutes, it's a solid price tag to take. And that's pretty much it on the Portland side of the ball. On the Chicago side of the ball, we have higher price tags. Vooch is in a pretty decent spot at 9.3, but I probably won't go there. I would prefer to go to the guys in LA, the first game in LA. But you're looking at DeRozan, you're looking at Levine, both in really very good spots here. DeRozan had only 38.5 fantasy points against Portland in the first game. Shot particularly poor from the field, 7 of 19. I don't expect him to shoot that poorly again. Portland's defense isn't the greatest, and they're scoring. But I do prefer Zach LaVine over him anyway for a couple $100 cheaper. He did have a pretty solid 44-point fantasy game against these guys and had 30 actual points. Only 2 assists in that meeting, but now without Ball, without Caruso, him and DeRozan have to do a lot more of the heavy lifting in that playmaking department. So I do prefer him to DeRozan, but I don't mind either of them. And that's pretty much it. I think everybody else is priced accordingly here. We see
Calling all partners. Losing weight is better together with Nutrisystem's Partner Plan. In fact, people who diet together lose 20% more weight than dieting on their own. Get new premium meals with up to 30 grams of protein. They're big and filling and taste delicious. Plus, try our new restaurant faves that taste like your favorite restaurant, portioned with half the calories. Don't wait. You could win big cash during Nutrisystem's Better Together Partner Plan 100K giveaway. And maybe win the grand prize of $25,000. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off your first month. You heard me right. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Don't wait. This partner plan offer will not last long. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin. See website for details on our 2-month subscription offer. No purchase necessary. Open only to U.S. residents over 21. Void where prohibited. Runs December 25 through April 4th, 2022. For official rules, visit Nutrisystem.com. Sponsored by Nutrisystem, Inc.
Kobe White, priced pretty highly. AO, under 6K now, and I like that a little bit better, but that's still a little high for me, even on a 3-game slate that I don't want to pay for him. Best guy on this side for me is Levine. If you really want to take a chance, Javonte Green has been seeing minutes in the low 20s at 3,400. I think he'll bring back 15 to 20 points. That's only if you're going stars and scrubs, but outside of that, you can leave it alone. All right, jumping on over to the main slate, the late slate. We have the first game on the docket. The Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the Detroit Pistons. We have on the spread, we have a 211.5 game total, which is easily the lowest of the night. And then we have the Cavs 7-point road favorites. On the injury report, we have Markkanen, RJ, Rubio, Sexton, all out. Grant, Olynyk, all out as well. Josh Jackson as questionable. We'll start with Cleveland. This would be a very, very solid matchup for the Cavs. Could get out of hand. They're 7-point road favorites. If they were at home, probably looking at 11 or so. Big spread here, and it's a low scoring spread at 211.5, easily the lowest. Garland 8-6. We can look to him. I don't know if this game stays super competitive for him to bring back big value. First time they played, he shot great from the field, 8 of 14, and he had 39 actual points or fantasy points, 21-7 with a couple steals. Did pretty well. I think that's pretty much where we'll see him in the 40s. I don't know if huge value here, so I'll probably lean a little bit away from him. Looking at the front court, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. I think both of them are in decent spots. I don't think I'll necessarily go to them, but I do think the spots are pretty solid there. But at mid 7Ks, probably going to lean a little bit away from them. Go with other people. I do like Kevin Love at 6'2". Without Lauri Markkanen, there's just a couple extra minutes to go around for him. He's playing mid to low 20s, but that is enough for him to produce. And the back-to-back games of 43 actual fantasy points jumped his value back up to 62. I still think that's a pretty solid price tag for him. I think he can get into the 30-point range in this one. Without Markkanen, Osman, Okoro take on pretty bigger roles. Osman played 34 minutes in the last one, which we were hoping for before that, where he only played 11 against New York. I think the minutes are going to be somewhere in the middle of that, probably high 20s, low 30s, though. Actually, I should say closer to that last game where he played 34, and he had 23 actual points. 17 shots he took, 14 threes. We know he could shoot threes. This is going to be a good matchup for him to take threes. And at 4K, I think we can. I feel pretty solidly confident in him to bring back value here. I think he's going to play, again, 27 to 33 minutes in this one. I like that. Only 4K. Isaac Okoro, another guy, 3,900. Markkanen opens up a role for him to continue to play. He only took 3 shots in the last one, but he was starting to pick up the offensive game before he had to miss some time at the beginning of the month. Hasn't really picked it back up since. Shots, he only has 1 game of double-digit shots, but he's been doing enough all around to continue to bring back value at such a cheap price. So I'm looking at Love, Jedi, The Last Jedi, and Okoro the most here. Jumping on over to the other side of the ball, we have Detroit, and it's not a great matchup for them. The Cavs are just really good defensively and offensively. They're just a very good unit here. one game that Sadiq Bey played against the Cavs, he had 4 points. He shot 1 of 12 from the field, 15 fantasy points. Obviously, I don't expect him to shoot 1 of 12 from the field again, but going against Evan Mobley, for the most part, I really don't want to attack you. And then you got Jared Allen patrolling in the middle as well. So I really don't want to touch anyone here. I think the prices are pretty solid. If I did want to go somewhere, Isaiah Stewart at 4.5, but he's just been so hit or miss. I would like Trey Lyles as well at 4.8. He's not getting enough time for me to convince me that he's going to produce here. So to keep it easy, I'm not going to touch anybody on Detroit. All right, jumping on over to the big game. We have the Denver Nuggets taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. We have a 227.5 game total. The Bucks are 6.5 point home favorites. We have on the injury report Cousins and Barton probable, as well as Rodney Hood, Lopez, Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Vlatko Cancar all out, and George Hill as doubtful. Yeah, kind of mix those up a little bit, huh? But we'll go with the first game on the docket, or first team, the away team we have, and this one starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I forgot to say. But we have Jokic at 12.4, easily the highest paid player on the slate, followed by the guy on the other side of the ball. But Jokic, if you can afford him, man, I don't think we have to continue to say what he does, because he's just been Jokic. Expect 60 points from him with some upside here, even in a tough matchup, a potential triple-double. And yeah, he's just been flat out fantastic. I don't mind him here. And that Thrive Fantasy bet, 24.5 points. I would expect, I would go over. I don't really want to go under and bet against this guy, even if it gives you more, 10 more points if you hit on the under. Very hard to do that, to bet against him. All right, moving on from the stud, we have the rest of the lineup. Gordon, Barton, Morris. I think they're all fairly priced in this matchup. I don't really want to attack the Bucks here, but I think they're all fairly priced. Probably not going to have too much exposure to any of these guys outside of Jokic if I do. If I can't pay up for Jokic and I want like a Giannis, then I'll look for a Will Barton, though, at 5,700 to run it back for. Maybe a Austin Rivers, too, at 3,800. See if he gets extra minutes there. But outside of that, probably not too much exposure here. On the other side of the ball, we have the second highest priced guy on the field in Giannis, and I like his Thrive bet to go over. The over is the lesser of the plays here. You get 125 points for going over 11.5 rebounds, only 75 points to go under. I think he can do the over. He played against these guys one time already. He had 13 rebounds, 7 assists, 24 actual points, and he had 13 rebounds in the last one, 9 before that, 12, 15. So 3 of the last 4 he's hit that. He's averaging 11.3 rebounds, so pretty much on the mark. I think this is a good matchup for him. Outside of Jokic, there's really not much competition for grabbing some rebounds against Denver here. And I don't mind him in this spot as well. Again, if you wanted to run it back, he had a really solid game against these guys, 54 fantasy points. I think Jokic has slightly more upside, especially since the Bucks have a lot better surrounding pieces than what the Nuggets have. But I don't mind Jokic here or Giannis here either. I would prefer to just pay $400 to get Jokic, though. Outside of that, Drew Holiday at 7.6, good price tag for me. He's starting to play. He's fully back here. He's playing minutes in the 30s in the last 3 games. After coming back, after missing a couple weeks there, about 2 exact weeks. He didn't play 30 minutes the first 2 games back, but last 3, 32, 32, 35. So he's starting to be back there. On 2 of those last 3 games that he played over 30, he's had over 42 fantasy points. The only game he didn't, they got blown out by Cleveland. And he only took 9 shots. I'm going to chalk that up as not great, but at 7,600, I think, again, 40 points is well within his possibilities here. So I do like the matchup. Monte Morris, Austin Rivers, Bones Highland, not great defenders. He has a size advantage against them, so I do like him here. And he would be my preferred play of these guys. That's probably the one guy I'm looking at on the top. And looking at DiVincenzo lower, especially if George Hill doesn't play. That's just extra minutes. DiVincenzo's playing minutes in the mid to high 20s now. He's starting to ramp back up at only 3,700. I think there's some opportunity to be had here. That's it. Those are the guys I'm looking at there. All right, jumping on over to the next game of the night, we have on the docket. Oh, I forgot to mention Pat Connaughton with DiVincenzo also is another guy I'd be looking at to take a chance on under 4K. But now we'll go to Dallas versus Orlando at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the second lowest spread of the night, 213 game total. The Mavs are 7.5-point road favorites. On the injury report, we have nothing for the Mavs. They are on the back end of a back-to-back. But with that said, Porzingis got hurt last night, left the game, did not return. I find it extremely unlikely, and probably during this podcast, he's going to get ruled out for today. I can't imagine he's going to be playing after getting ruled out after 11 minutes of play against Indiana last one. So I'm assuming that it's going to get ruled out while I'm on the podcast. But right now, he's not on the official injury report because they haven't sent one. Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be out for a while as well. And we'll put Sterling Brown questionable. He hasn't played in a few games in about 10 days. So I'll put him closer to doubtful, but we'll leave him at questionable at the moment. And on the other side of the ball, the usual Etuan Moore, Isaac, Hampton, Fultz, Carter, Williams, all out. All right. Jumping on over to the Dallas side of the ball. And again, Porzingis, I'm not including, I'm expecting him out. I'm expecting Brown out as well. But we'll put both of them as doubtful for now. With that said, Maxi Kleber was already starting next to Porzingis, but now without Porzingis, we should expect a little bit better. He did have a nice double-double in the last one, 15 points, 14 rebounds against Indiana last night, 39 fantasy points. I don't expect him to do 14 rebounds again. That's not particularly part of his game, but he can get steals, he can get blocks. He does rebound some, and he does hit some shots and hit some threes. And 4 of the last 5 games, he has over 21 fantasy points. So value to be had there at such a cheap $3,700 price tag. Now you have more minutes available for him as well. Possibly more for Dwight Powell also. He might draw the start in this one next to Kleber. Back-to-back games of over 21 fantasy points here at only 3,300. Can take a shot at him. I would expect minutes in the 20s. Orlando does play 2 bigs. They have Bamba, Carter Jr. starting. So we might see a Kleber Powell front court to match that. And that's very solid here. Dorian Finney-Smith at only 4,500 is getting a big bump here. He hasn't played 30 minutes in the last 3, but all 3 of those games were massive blowouts. They blew out Indiana last night, they blew out Portland, and they got blown out by Golden State in the last 3 games. So chalk all 3 of those scores up as false or just whatever you want to chalk them up as. But at 4,500, now there's no Porzingis. He's now the 3rd option on the team outside of Brunson and Luka. I didn't even get to Brunson and Luka because they're both definitely in play here. No Porzingis. Both of them are going to be taking on a bigger load here. 6,200 for Brunson is a decent price. The upside might not be crazy, especially against this Magic team. But the matchup, if the game stays close, is very, very solid for him. And Luka is going to be doing more heavy lifting than normal here. The one game he played against the Mavs, he had only 38 or about 39 fantasy points. Didn't have many assists, only 3. Expect that to change here. The ball is going to be in his hands a lot, and he is going to take control of this. So I expect 50-plus points. And he's an option if you don't want to pay up for a Jokic here. Very good option as well. Reggie Bullock should be playing extra minutes here. Not really interested in him, though. On the other side, Orlando. Even without Porzingis, this is one of the better defensive teams. After the first month of the season, this team, the Mavericks, have been fantastic defensively. So not anybody in particular is sticking out as a must play. Cole Anthony is now dropped all the way to 6,600. He's pretty much been around there, but he was very high up early in the year when he was balling out. Last 2 games have been pretty solid. He had a 52-point fantasy game in there, and then a 33-point fantasy game. 20 assists combined and 12 rebounds combined in those last 2 games against Detroit and the Clippers. I think this one's a little bit different. Don't really fully want to go to him here, but without Porzingis, it does get you, make you a boost. But Jalen Suggs, outside of those last 2 games, has been taking on more of a facilitator role, and that's what dinged his value up a little bit. They're kind of trading off on that. The last 2 games have been Cole Anthony, and the 3 games before that with Jalen Suggs, we're getting more assists and taking on more responsibility, ball handling and playmaking. So they're kind of canceling each other out, and their price tags are pretty solid at the moment that I don't feel that I need to attack that. Mo Bamba, though, is a guy at 5,600 that I'm interested in, especially without Porzingis. You're going to see a lot of Kleba, probably see a lot of Powell because they play two big lineups. And if he sees 30 minutes like he did last game and he did a few games ago, we know the upside is there to hit 40 points. He had 37 last night. In the last game he played 30. He had 49. So I do expect him to play a little bit more minutes here. I do hope he hits the 30-minute mark, at least 28. And I expect nice return here at 5,600. He'd be my favorite play on this side of the ball. All right, jumping on over to the next game. We have at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Utah Jazz taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We have for a spread a 228 game total, and it is a pick'em. On the injury report, we have Bolmero out, Rudy Gobert out, Mitchell, Trent Forrest, D'Angelo Russell, Josh Okogie, Patrick Beverley, all questionable. We will start with the Jazz. They are the away team. Hassan Whiteside, 6,400. It's a good matchup. He's getting a lot of minutes. We know the production that he could have. He hasn't really brought it back in the last three. Two of them were against Phoenix. One of them was against Memphis. This is still a tough matchup. He's going to be going against Cat. But I expect a actual double-double in this one, which he hasn't had in two of the last three games that he's gotten. The minutes since Gobert has been out. I don't think he's a bad play, though. If he's seeing 34 minutes. So I do expect a double-double. I expect a couple more blocks. A tough matchup, yes, but it's not a bad price tag to take a chance on him here. And then Mitchell, that's very dependent on is he going to play or is he not. He's been in the concussion protocol for 12 days now. This would be the day 13. So if he plays at under 9K, he's in play. And I really don't want to go after anybody else. He should take on a big usage role again, and we have to see how that integrates with everybody else with their price bumps. Conley's near 7K. Clarkson's near 7K. Bago is over 62. Ingles, don't really want to touch him anyway, but that'll make me not want to touch anybody else. If Mitchell is out, then it kind of changes things a little bit. I like Whiteside better with Mitchell also, but if Mitchell is out, then you can start taking a look at maybe a Clarkson, maybe a Bogdanovich, maybe a Royce O'Neal. But I really, to be honest, not fully in love with them either or. I really like Mitchell, and it bumps up Whiteside's value as well. All right, jumping on over to Minnesota. Russell, Beverly, two guys we got to keep an eye on. Two open starting spots again if they're out. We saw Jalen Noel get the start in the last one. He only played 15 minutes, though, in that one. He was playing more off the bench, which was very weird. But, again, if there's no Russell, I don't expect that to happen again. And we can take a look at him at 4,100 if he gets another starting spot. Beasley caught fire in the last one. If there's no Beverly, there's no Russell. There's more minutes for him to get high 20s, low 30s. Another chance you could take at under 4K. McDaniels has been starting for Beverly. He is only 3,400. If you want a guy in the high 20s, low 30s, again, with a almost near bare minimum, you can take a chance on him, but his offensive game is not great. So don't really want to look at him there. But if there's no Russell, there's no Beverly. A lot of this falls to Towns and Edwards. Towns against Whiteside, who we know Whiteside is just not the greatest defender, very lackadaisical. I think that's a good matchup here. I do prefer to try and pay up for other guys if you can, but Towns is going to be in a good matchup. No Gobert and a lot of Hassan Whiteside. And Edwards he just 2 out of the last 3 games, he has 60-plus fantasy points, and then he has a 49-point game sprinkled in there. A ton of shots, a ton of extra usage here. 16 assists in the last 2 games. There's no Russell. He would be my preferred play on this team at only 8,500. And I think that's a great value for him. If there is Russ, it dings everybody up a little bit. You know, Russell's gonna get his usage, his playmaking, ball handling there. So a lot less usage to go around for a guy like Edwards. But I still think that he would be my preferred play over Russell here. And that's likely it. Vanderbilt is in a solid spot, but I don't really want to go there. either. I just want to look at Edwards, depending on if Russell and Beverly are out, or if Russell's out. And if Beverly's out also, you can take a look, take some chances on Noel and Beasley preferably. Right, last game of the night, we have the San Antonio Spurs taking on the Phoenix Suns at 8:30 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have on the injury report, or on the spread, a 232 game total, which is the highest of the night. Very weird when you're seeing the Suns, but the Suns are 9.5-point home favorites. And the Spurs have Murray, Pirtle, White, all out. And Keita Bates-Diop in protocols right now. The Suns, Kaminsky, Nader, Payne, Saric, all out. McGee, Crowder, Ayton, all questionable. Those guys haven't played in a little bit. But start with the Spurs. They are the away team. They're missing their 3 highest priced players, 3 of their 5 starters. Their 3 best players. So, yeah, a lot to go around here. Drew Eubanks right off the bat, 3K, should start, should see minutes in the 20s. Very solid play here, even against Phoenix, whoever is starting at center. Bare minimum 3K, yep, I like that. Landale's going to get extra minutes as well, but I prefer Eubanks. He usually does start. When Pop does the rest, Devin Vassell should take on a bigger load here at 4,100. I really like him. He's going to be one of my favorite plays. No Murray, no White. I know Primo. I know Trey Jones are going to get a lot of minutes here at both positions, but I prefer Vassell. I prefer to pay up and get Vassell here. Speaking of Trey Jones, I prefer him over Josh Primo too. He's another guy at the bare minimum 3K that I'll take a chance on. But I do prefer Eubanks out if we're just going straight value instead of positions over him, because I know it's more secure there. Lonnie Walker, 3,400. Keldon Johnson in the 5Ks. Both of these guys are going to have to take on a bigger role. I mean, they're just resting everybody. They're resting their 3 best players, so you can take chances on these guys. 4 point per dollar, I prefer Vassell the most. Drew Eubanks, I really like him there. Keldon Johnson at 5.4, I prefer him over a Lonnie Walker for 2K more. And then Trey Jones, I don't mind taking a chance on, but Vassell and Eubanks would be the guy that I'm hanging my hat on here. And then everybody else, just take a chance on. I'm not going to take a chance on Primo. I prefer Trey Jones over him. I prefer Lonnie Walker at the same price over him a lot more. Probably not going to go to McDermott. We just know who he is. He doesn't really do anything else, even with the bigger role. But Keldon Johnson could produce here. But Vassell is the guy the most for me. On the other side of the ball, I don't particularly know. I don't expect this to be a 232 game total spread. And 9.5 is probably on the money, but now it's probably 14. I mean, they're resting their 3 best players, the Spurs. And this was probably already an 8-point spread anyway with the Suns at home. I really don't expect Ayton to play. McGee, maybe. Crowder, maybe. But I don't expect that. Even if any of them play, I don't expect them to play a lot, so I'm going to cancel them out already. Biyombo at 5.8 makes some sense. If no one's playing, there's no Pirtle. You're going to get a lot of Eubanks. You're going to get a lot of Landale. So makes more sense to play him here now at 5.8. Still like other people better. Booker, Paul, 9.5 or 9.8 and 9.5. I really don't want to pay this price tag. I don't know how particularly close this game's going to be for them to have to play 30 minutes. They might play 27. They could still honestly get value against this backup Spurs squad in that Spurs defense isn't great to begin with, and now you're just benching everybody that makes their defense respectable-ish or near respectability. Cam Johnson, 5,900. I do like him. And that's probably it. Probably just going to play some Cam, maybe some Biyombo if we get news early. Maybe a Crowder if he does start, but or play. But I really don't want to take a lot of chances on a lot of the Phoenix guys with their prices so high, especially knowing that it is a fantastic matchup, but I think they're just going to blow them out. If they were on the road, might be a little closer, but at home, they're going to blow them out with whoever they play. All right. That does it for our thing here. And I forgot to mention a couple things. Drew Holiday, I'll throw some other Thrive fantasies, forgot about them. Drew Holiday, 4.5 assists I think that's very easy to go over. Cole Anthony probably go under on the points and assists at 100. Keldon Johnson probably go over 4.5 rebounds. Under for Devin Booker again, points, rebounds, assists. I just don't know if they play enough there. Mike Conley gonna go under and see if Mitchell plays. Do that early, lock that in early. If he plays, good. If he doesn't, I still don't know if he's going to beat 17.5 points. So I think the under is very, very solid there. And Luka probably goes over points and assists, or points and rebounds, 35.5. I would expect him to go over without Porzingis, who I'm already just going to say is out. All right, we'll go to our favorite tiered players of the night. We'll do the main slate here. I guess I can go couple. We'll go the first slate real fast. Favorite high priced player in the first slate. Stick with a point per dollar type of guy. Zach LaVine, 8,500. Great matchup against Portland. I think he's going to put up 45 to 50 fantasy points in here. Portland's backcourt was never great. A little bit better. Simons is still small, just like Lillard was. They can take big time advantage of this. Favorite mid-tier player on that slate. Oof. Don't love the mid-tier. Probably going to lean more towards. Simons, 7K. Run it back against LaVine. I really like that price tag. Him and McCollum are both in very solid spots. I'll go with Simons. $500 discount there. And my favorite value play of the night, I think there's two. There's a few, but depending on who's in, who's out, Bogdanovich would be one. I don't know if Trae Young's playing or not, so I'm just gonna X that and won't count him here. Malik Monk, 4,500. Love that price tag. I already know that there's no LeBron, so he's gonna start, and I really like that. Would jump up right to Bogdanovich if there's no Trae Young, but we don't know that particularly at this moment. All right, jumping on over to the main slate, the 5-game slate. Favorite high price play. I guess the cop-out would be Jokic, and he honestly is the best play here. I expect another triple-double. Yeah, the Bucks, as good as they are, without Brook Lopez, you can still get to him in the front court now. 12-4, I'm very much in line to pay that. I think there's a lot of value, especially on whatever the Spurs have rolling out by the start of the game time, that you don't have to really worry about Jokic. And 60 points is coming. You just know it with some upside there. So love Jokic here. I'll be willing to pay every cent of that. Favorite mid-tier play of this slate. And I think there's quite a few, but I'll run it right back. Drew Holiday, 7-6. Couple games of 40 points since he's come back from that layoff on getting minutes in the 30s. Love the matchup here. Backcourt against the Nuggets. I think he can exploit that. I think he's going to hit 40-plus points again here, and that's very solid value for him. Favorite cheap play of the night? I mean, pick your Spur pretty much, but I'm going to go with Vassell, 4,100, even against a tough Spurs team. There's not going to be White. There's not going to be Murray. You can even throw Pirtle in there, but none of those two guys are out. Vassell should easily exceed 4,100, and there's big-time upside here. You might not hit that big-time upside, but you should easily get your value here, and you don't have to worry about it. And then you can pay up for Jokic. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We will catch you again tomorrow. Peace.